Hey guys, welcome to episode 6 of Web3 Node Operators, a YouTube series that highlights teams running validators and other critical Web3 infrastructure. Today, I am accompanied by Antoine and Jean from StakeFrites. Guys, it's a pleasure to have you here today. How are you doing?
Pleasure to be here. Doing great.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Thanks for having us, and doing great.
So before we get into the background of you and the team, what's the story behind the name StakeFrites?
Like every business name, I think we maybe at first try to overthink it a bit. We were trying to find names, and like we maybe have put a bit too much time on this at first, and we were trying ideas. And I think one time we went with Steakhouse, or that was our idea, but then we were looking if there were other validators with that name, and we found one on one of our first chain that was having that name. So it was a bummer because we've been thinking about that name for like a couple of weeks. And then one night I was falling asleep, and you know, when you're trying to do something else than think, your mind just keeps running and trying ideas. And I had the brilliant idea, or I thought so, of doing a fun name with like Stake-Frites, because Stake-Frites, steak and fries is a meal we all love, and it's a play of words with the staking term. So I just had this flash. I texted the boys and said, yeah, I think we have our name. And that's how that great name came to life.
Yeah, and it was a wordplay with the French. Like, we're French Canadian, so we found it funny, like, to use a French wording. One downside, maybe a lot of people think we were a meme at first. I think maybe even today, maybe some people think we're a meme because we started validating on Wawa at first as well, because it was a great playground to start validating. But yeah, we're not a meme. We may have a funny name, but we're not a meme.
we're real people committed to the ecosystem.
Okay, real people and not steaks and fries. I'm getting real hungry over here just talking about steak all the
time. Yeah, that's one bummer with our name. We always end up eating steak and fries right now. Every time we go out, we're obliged to to eat only steak and fries.
Antoine, now that we covered the name and the origin, can you tell us a little bit about the team? Who are you guys, and how did you end up running validators on Chihuahua? And you know, what happened then? What's your story?
We're all good friends since we're all like entrepreneur friends who've been in touch for a lot of years. That we all have like our business or our job on the side, but we wanted to do a project together. And at first, it was only the Cosmos ecosystem was super interesting and stuff. So I was pitching the ecosystem to all my friends all the time.
All the time.
All the time. I love the ecosystem, and I was trying to get them involved. And it was like out of nowhere, one day, Jean-Eric, who's with us, booted a node on a testnet to just for fun during Christmas holiday, and everything started from there. We were like, okay, so now that we can run node, we should do it, and do it more seriously, and like focus on that, and trying to bring value to the ecosystem. Because one problem is, I think, in the Cosmos is that the voting power is very centralized on the top node, and that's I think we need more smaller validators from everywhere to fill the gap, and to hopefully distribute the voting power to more people in the set. So we thought there was a need of validator in the ecosystem, and we started we started working on that. So at first it was the first node was just under the name Matteo Validator before we planned the business and everything. Right now on the team we're 6 people, 3 more active that actively works on the project pretty much every day, and the 3 active, there's me on the marketing and governance side, there's Jean-Emerick on the programming and developing side, and there's Nicolas who's not with us right now, but he's the cybersecurity guy. He's our security guy. He works on in a cybersecurity firm, so he has a security background, and he's our infrastructure specialist to make sure that everything is secure and everything is running optimally. And we have all of the other team members are involved in smaller way in the team, but they're all contributing as well with each their own skills.
Makes sense. All right. Thank you for the background story. Jean, let's talk a little bit about the validators. What's your setup in broad strokes? How do you operate?
Yeah, we are running the validators on a couple of different providers. We are using bare metal machines to run our validators, so we have a bit more control on what's happening with these machines, and we also are fine-tuning our setup as we go along. We're always trying new things, and when we boot other nodes, we also have test nodes to try some things out to not mess with our current setup for the production nodes. We are using the great tool that was made by Blockchain, if I'm not mistaken, which is Standard Duty. It's an awesome tool. Like we would have so much problem without that tool. So we use that for our alerting purposes and our dashboarding purposes. Initially, when I did my long nights of playing with nodes and trying to boot our first validators, I came onto the article of Blockchain, which is called, if I'm not mistaken, So You Want to Be a Validator or something along those lines. And he was outlining all the things you should be thinking about if you're running nodes. It was a huge inspiration for us to make sure we are covering all bases of what we need to monitor, what we need to alert on, and how should we make sure our setup is robust. So I don't know if Blockchain is going to see that interview, but thanks for that article and for the contribution you've made to the ecosystem, because you're helping most validators make sure they're doing the things, doing the right things. But we're using PagerDuty for the alerts and making sure we're always on track if there's blocks missing, or if there's an upgrade that came out of nowhere. We also have different notification channels that are linked to the GitHub repo of the chains we validate, so we can see if there's new tags, which mostly means that some updates are coming. What are we using else? We're using Grafana to visualize our machines performance, but also the validators metrics that are exposed with Customers Explorer, if I'm not mistaken. And I think, that would give a few ideas of what's our setup. And we also have custom alerts that we made on the machines to have a fail-safe if anything would be happening to the other systems we have in place, so we don't have a single point of failure.
That's a great description. Thank you. I'm wondering, what are your thoughts on Horcrux, the tool developed by Strangelove, this threshold signer?
Yeah, it's a cool thing. It's something we're trying out with the test nodes. We haven't had the guts to completely make the switch with our production nodes, because everybody that's tried this for the first time, it's the same thing. It's about having the faith of just pressing on the button and hoping no double signing occurs. So that's why we're trying it on test nodes. It looks like something we would deploy on other nodes, but on other chains, but we have to choose the right chains to do that, because for sure infrastructure costs are gonna go up for these chains. So we need to make sure we do the right decision on which chains to put it on.
Yeah, that makes totally sense. I remember crypto like Mo, I think he got slashed or tombstoned a couple of months ago. I remember there was quite a big event because it doesn't happen too often. So it's definitely
I think we
something
were
you
in
want to avoid.
Colombia at that moment, or we were. Was it? No. We were in Colombia. It was a couple months before. It was in July, if I remember correctly. But yeah, I think it's unfortunate, but I think there was a problem when they made the switch. The chain was still running on the other process, and it wasn't stopped. So yeah, these kind of things can happen, and that's very unfortunate. But yeah, that's always when you make a change, if you migrate a node, that's the big stress that you have, or the big thing looming over your head, like, have I stopped the other process? But yeah, it afrays me so much that I always look like 20 times if it's stopped. Like, I'm just gonna do the curl-s localhost 26657 status to make sure it doesn't return anything, and I'll do it like too much times, but just to make sure I've not forgotten everything, because yeah, there's no coming back from that.
Yeah, there isn't. Good thing you take care of your delegators. John, another question. What do you think are most challenging when coming into the ecosystem and trying to understand validators and run them your own? And where do you think can we improve this?
Yeah, I think it depends a lot of your technical proficiency. If you have been managing Linux machines, like if you have experience with Linux machines like I had and my colleague Nicholas had, I think it's easier because you understand like what is like moving around directories and permissions and running processes, services. Like these kinds of things are a bit hard to wrap your head around if you're not a technical person. So that's the main thing. Your technical proficiency is going to be important. And it begs the question, do we want non-technical people to be running infrastructure, or at least make it easier for them to run infrastructure without knowing what's really happening? Or we want to keep that, we want to make more tutorials and documentation for technical people so they can understand what the blockchain is doing, rather than trying to make it like everyone could run a node. It begs the question. I don't know the answer to that, but because there's lots of things happening, and for sure, if you don't understand what is a Linux system, what are directories, what are users, what are permissions, to do a secure setup is going to be something challenging.
Interesting point you're raising there. I think what we can agree on is that running full nodes, so not validators, just nodes, should be as easy as possible, because the more nodes you have in the ecosystem, the more robust the whole blockchain gets, and the easier you can send transactions, and the better and stronger the network is. But with validators, it's a very interesting question. Yeah.
I meant validators. Sorry. Sorry to cut you up. I said no, but I meant validators, because you don't want anyone to run validators, or at least, because if there's a security issue, everybody's going to pay for it. So yeah.
But I think this question is, partly solved by the fact that the Cosmos chains have a very limited active set. So there's not a lot of room for random guys just running their nodes.
Exactly.
That's very interesting.
Different infrastructure than Ethereum or Avalanche or other ecosystem that can have unlimited node. Like in the Cosmos, I don't think. I think it should be easy to run a node, but I think the fact that the most sets are between, I don't know, 100 and 200 validator, there's a limitation there as well. So having a higher barrier of entry might ensure that validators are there or higher quality, but Maybe not all the time also, like it does, it's not it does not, even if you're in the set does not mean you're a good validator or you're checking your stuff properly, but maybe these difficulty are good for that. I think it would be fun to have a bigger validator set in the future in the Cosmos. I think I know there's some limitation and we can't just increase and increase and increase, but I think having bigger and bigger over time would be ideal. I think 100 validator might be small, but as of now, even if we had, even if a set have 500 validator, if 50% of the voting power is in the top 5 node,
it doesn't change a thing.
It doesn't change much. So I think we need to focus on the decentralization in the validator set before necessarily expanding every set with a bigger number of validator.
Mm-hmm. Do you think this can be, or greater decentralization can be achieved through on-chain mechanisms, like for example, governance?
Maybe I think what I think what Kepler started to do, like just a warning window if you're trying to delegate on a top 10 node, that kind of stuff can help. Maybe we can force decentralization against the set with governance. But ideally, I think it should be an organic thing, but it's not happening as of right now. So maybe we need to think about.
The ideal thing would be it to come organically, but it's not happening yet. So that would be the good idea, but there's not enough incentives. And the tricky thing is if you put on-chain mechanism to restrict people so they decentralize, maybe there's another set of problems that come where I heard the argument that if you would cap the maximum commission of top validators, it would incentivize people to run 2 validators on the same chain, which is a Sybil attack, if I'm remembering correctly. And it's not something you want to incentivize for. So for sure, there must be a good way to go about that. The ideology would want us to go with organic, but the reality tells us that we might need some more mechanism or financial incentives so people are going in that direction. But it makes me think of what's the tool on there's a tool on Terra that started their own chain. It starts with Kuji, yeah, and they have in their UI, they have an interface to make sure you can rebalance your state to distribute across validators, and that I think these things are helping the decentralization, and maybe that's some of the things Kepler are working on. I don't know because Kepler is a big wallet in the ecosystem, so for sure, if they make changes, they're going to influence the ecosystem. So that's why we think about them a lot.
Yeah, maybe I think there's a lot of things that can be done on the UI side before necessarily forcing it through governance, because most people that come in the ecosystem go download Kepler on other wallet and go to stake will go with it. You have no understanding of the decentralization of the set. You just see top 5 there. It's the easiest way to you think there's more secure or better or whatever. So most people, I think, will relate to the top validator as a reflex because they don't know better. I think what Kepler is doing, as I said, with the warning sign, if you try to delegate to a top 10 or 5 node, I think, that tell you, are you sure you want to delegate to a top 10 node? This will hurt the network, the decentralization of the network. I think this is a good first step, but maybe some like Omniflix on their staking UI was doing that. Every validator on the list was just shuffling every time. So you don't see really the ranking when you go to stake. I think that can be also a good solution for newbies. And the one thing that needs to be focused and educate, I don't think anyone, except if you're running a node like us, should delegate to one validator. Like I delegate all my crypto to StakeFrites because I'm part of the StakeFrites team, but most people should delegate to a bunch of different validator. I think that first of all,
to add a point on that, we also spread some of our delegations, but on the chains we're fighting for our life. You can rest assured that we're putting all our assets on that node, but on some other chains we spread it. Just wanted to add that precision.
Yeah, for sure. And like we delegate to other validator on Atom since we're not on, we've been kicked out in the sets a couple of months ago. So we delegate to other validator for sure. But I think most people should delegate, spread their delegation through 3 or 5 or 10, depending on how much you have. I think it's make more sense for a decentralization point of view, and it makes more sense on the risk management on the delegator side, because if there's a slash event occurring on one node, it's not all their asset that will be affected. And even if like most validators are doing their best and working hard to not have any slash event or downtime or whatever that can occur, there's always a risk. We're running with machine, there's upgrade, there's a lot of manipulation. So I think it's just better for anyone for a risk management on a risk management point, and it's just better for the ecosystem as a whole for the decentralization. So I think these kind of points should be focused more, and it's something we want to also start to educate people. We're launching video series, small side. We're launching a video series from all the footage we've shot at Cosmoverse, and the step after that is also creating content to educate people in the ecosystem about good practices and stuff like that, because I think that's a good that's an important point, and I would focus on that before forcing it to governance, as I said. But maybe I wouldn't be against kind of governance policy that try to resolve that problem, depending on what's the solution. But I think that's a problem that needs to be resolved in the ecosystem for sure. Like it's making no sense in my head that a chain can be stopped by 3 validators sometime in some instance. That's just it's not secure. Like we should do better than that.
A lot of people not only value decentralization, I mean, it's a very important metric, but they also value what the specific validators bring to the ecosystem. You know, there are some validators who operate an application, some who do core contributions. And Antoine, you just mentioned that you're just starting out with education, so content creation. Can you talk a little more about what you guys do for the ecosystem and what's your plan besides just validating? Yeah.
The small task of making sure you have 100% uptime, yeah.
Exactly.
that little task, yeah, but I can go if you don't mind, Antoine. Yeah, we think education is something very important. We have lots of people that are in marketing or have marketing background. Antoine is a great video creator, so he has a business and he does video production. So it's just a no-brainer to make sure we can use those skills efficiently. So making content is something that's why when I say we, I mean these guys. That's why we brought our gear to Colombia to make sure we could get some content, make sure to have some interviews with people, main actors in the ecosystem. So yeah, the creating content is something important. We also want to bring tools to the ecosystem. We've been working for a while now on the Trakmos, TRAKMOS, which is our vision with that is to present a tool which is a bit similar to CoinStats, which you enter your addresses and is going to be tracking your assets over time, but specifically for the Cosmos ecosystem. We want to make it easy for someone to just enter one address, your Cosmos address, and in the background, transfer that address to other chains. We can transfer the Cosmos address to most chains, not the EVMOS one. We need that one entered to make sure we can get the right address. So the idea is you enter your address, you configure different accounts, and the idea is you can have multiple keys because you can have like 3 Akash address, but there are going to be 3 different keys. So the idea is you configure that once, and then we refresh those balances every day or every we have ideas of refreshing it a bit faster. And the main thing with that is you don't have to go, if you're using Kepler, and switch accounts to see what money is in or what is the value of your assets in different accounts. You have one view, you see all the information, and you can filter by wallets if you want, but you can have all the information in the clients. So that's Trackmos. It's something we've been working on it for a while. We did a first alpha version that we released to some people. It was a closed release, and we got some feedback. It made us rethink the way we should do it to make it a bit more robust and a bit more like UX friendly. So we've been working on that new version for a while now. We had a bit where we couldn't work as much on it because we were flooded with the work with the nodes. We had to put some work on the nodes and make sure our setup was secure, and we were making improvement. And for sure, making sure our nodes are secure, are running smoothly is our priority. So we always, if we have to choose between building other products or making sure delegators are safe, we're always going to be focusing on the validator side. So that's why we took some, it's taking a bit more time than expected to make sure we can release something that's working and that is smooth to use.
The idea is to build some tool slowly, but it's to be public good in the ecosystem and some useful thing that people can use. Like right now, there's no way to track all your crypto if you have, let's say, 2 wallets in one place on chain. Like you need to add them manually in a portfolio tracker. But so that's the first tool we want to bring to the ecosystem, and we don't want to promise or like promise a bunch of tool and everything. It's like the side of we love to build some tool on the side and bring them to the ecosystem, and hopefully we will bring a lot of stuff in the future year, but we'll see how everything goes and everything. But Trackmos was a good way to start working with that kind of project and app at first.
Makes totally sense. And I think products that abstract away the complexities of this IBC interchain, monstrum, they will really take off and help user adoption. So I like what you're building there. So I think our interview is coming to an end here. Antoine, Jean, or do you want to say anything else as last words here?
Let's go, Cosmos.
Yeah, I want to thank you for having us. It's really cool to talk about this. We're spamming our friends talking about Cosmos and the Cosmos ecosystem, but most people don't understand or are not. They don't have a skin in the game like you do. So it's cool talking to someone who loves the ecosystem and knows what we're talking about. If anybody wants to support us and make sure we can get some time to work on other projects and make sure we can put more time in the ecosystem, you can support us on the various chains we validate. Antoine is gonna list them all, but we would also love for people to stay tuned. We'd love to come back onto the Cosmos active sets. We're gonna need all the help we can gather to make this happen, but it's something that's very important to us. it's the first chain we went into contact with. It's the chain that started it all for us in the Cosmos ecosystem. So for sure, it's a symbolic one, and we'd love to get back on it.
All right, guys, thank you very much. I had a great time talking with you today. I will post all the relevant links down here in this description. So if you watch the video till the end, click on the description and check out what StakeFrites is doing. And yeah, once again, thank you very much for joining us. And bye-bye.
Yeah, thank you. See you later.
Thank you. Bye.